Oh, is it time? Is it 2022 yet? Hello, Nixon. It looks like it's time to start the streaming season again. So today, we're going to take a look at some of the new features that have been added to OpenToonz and Tahoma since I was last here, and to investigate one of them in more detail, the Implicit Hold feature, by animating with it. So stay tuned and roll the theme tune. Hello friends, Happy New Year. Welcome to my first Sunday Tea Time live stream of the year. I'm out of hibernation and ready to work again, so we're back. Hope you're all doing well. As always, do come say hello in the chat. Let me know who's out there and what you're up to today. Especially if it's your first time, let me know how you heard about the stream and where you are. I've already had quite a few people join us nice and early, so let me just give a quick name check. So Ajahn Kasami, welcome. Good to have you with us again today. Glad you joined us. What else we got? We've got Pixelated. Hello there. Welcome. No problem. Good to have you with us today. Hello, Dave. Welcome back. I've got to say, your theme tune keeps getting stuck in my head. I'm not going to sing it, but it's in there. I'm trying not to. Good to have you with us. Hopefully, if you're streaming later, I can come and join your stream and take a look what you're up to. Maria, hello Maria, welcome. Good to have you here today. No problem. I've got a bit of news to go through first thing, which I think is perhaps the most important that you might be interested in. So I'm sure you'll catch that before you leave. And Boring POV, welcome. Good to have you here for your first time. It's always great to have first time people joining us on the stream. And Eric, hello Eric, good to have you here. Happy Person is here. Good to have you, welcome. And we've got Wanted 200. Hello there. It certainly is very jingly. I'm not going to do it. Hi, hello, welcome. Good to have you here today. It's great to see so many people joining us so early on. Often people will join later on in the stream and they'll have missed some of the earlier parts of the stream. So it's great to have you here. Good to have you joining us today. If you are new to these streams, welcome. My name is Darren and I stream every weekend starting from now this year, and I host these on YouTube and on Twitch, and these are recorded later so you can watch them after the stream's finished, if you've missed some part of the stream, or if you want to go back and re-watch part of the stream, you'll find these. So these are a chance for me to do some work on drawing or animating in OpenToonz or Tahoma2D, and for you to watch along and ask any questions about what I'm doing or about the programs themselves. And also for me to share any OpenToonz or animation news that I think you might like. So, to not miss each stream, hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified when I next stream. And there's lots of ways to support the channel that you'll find listed down in the description below, with the easiest being just to hit the like button and to comment on the video once it's been recorded and stored on YouTube. And as with my early live streams, I'm going to leave this live stream recording live for about a week, and I'm going to move it into the live stream playlist and remove it from the main published server so that people don't come across it accidentally when they're searching for videos. But they'll still be available in the live stream playlist for you to take a look at. And if you have got the means, you can also support the channel by buying me a coffee or a Darren Tea. And you'll find a link to that down in the description below. But either way, it's just great to have you with me today, joining me for this first live stream. So we've got 15 people here today so far. Great to have you all here. Do say hello, let me know who's here, and let me just catch up with the chat. So who have we got then? Yes, that's right, Dave. I actually put it in my video on Friday about the streams not being made public. I changed them all last week. And I changed my previous live streams to be unlisted middle of last week. So when I heard you was doing the same, I wondered if you'd seen what I was doing from my video from Friday, or if you just happened to come across the same idea. It was an idea that I heard elsewhere from a channel that talked about how to promote your YouTube videos. And they were saying that if you want people to search for and find specific videos, then don't get them mixed up with long live streams that they may not want to watch. Exactly as you said on your stream. Yep, exactly right, archiving the live streams. I mean, I do put them in the playlist anyway. They've always been in a live stream playlist, but I've taken them out of being public, so not findable. Yeah, total coincidence. Happens all the time. I love it. I love it. Ajahn, how to flip a drawing. Yes, no problem. I'll show you that in a short while. But if you're using a nightly build of Tahoma, then there'll be a button. In fact, if I run this up, let me run it up and show you once I can get to the program. So if you've downloaded a nightly build anytime in the past month or two, I think, you'll have that feature already available. Let me just show you here. So I need to just start a quick project and then I'll crack on with everything else we want to get through. So create a new project. Save these down here. And I'll just draw that with the mouse. Brilliant. Okay, so if I switch to the Tahoma screen, you'll see this. There we are. Let me just take away some of these pop-ups. Okay, so you can see the letter P I've got on screen here. If you use the selection tool and then highlight your selection, do the copy and paste as you are doing, you'll see these buttons at the side of the horizontal and the vertical values. You can just press that button and it'll flip it either horizontally or vertically. And you can see by the numbers that it's basically adding a minus sign to negate the actual size of the object. So if I shrink it down, it goes to minus 32%. And then 32%. So just hit that button and you can flip it over. But if you're using a previous version of Tahoma, you can just type the minus sign at the front of the number there, or remove it, and then press enter, and it'll apply the flip to that particular side. Hello there, Tom. Good to have you with us again today. Okay, so where are we then? So today, what are we doing? Quite a few things, to be honest. I've got quite a packed stream today. I don't know how far we'll get and how things will hold up, which I'll go through in a second. So I've got quite a few exciting new developments to share today that have happened since I last streamed. So in the past month or so, there's been quite a busy development phase happening for OpenToonz and Tahoma. So I'll share some of my favourite picks today. And I want to demonstrate one of the new features that's in Tahoma called Implicit Holds, as you may have seen from the thumbnail. And I think that'll really be helpful to all of you, particularly if you came from other animation software like Krita or I think CSP has it and some others. So to do that, I'll be working on a small animation. We'll see how far we get with that. But you'll get to get the gist of implicit holds and what they could do for you. So if you are new to the channel or to OpenToonz or Tahoma, this will be really good to see how to get started with creating a new project and to work with these implicit holds. Boring POV? Yes, they do, absolutely. I've got quite a few videos showing a good workflow for frame by frame drawing. I'm trying to think which one could be the best. If you take a look through the live stream playlist, you'll see me doing this quite a lot. the last series of videos before Christmas was working on a monster animation. Let me bring that up for you. It'll be easier to show you on screen. Okay, so let me just go to my channel and we'll go to the content and the live videos. So just bring that over here. And if you go to my channel, look in the live playlist, you'll see this series of videos about animating my little monster. So if you go down to part 1 and just start from here, that shows exactly how I started a new project and started working through thumbnailing, drawing basic shapes, sketching, ink, paint and animation. So you'll see that in that series of videos, and of course you can skip through to find the parts that's most interesting to you. So yeah, do take a look at that. But I have got also other videos on my channel that really show this kind of process as well. I have a series of 4 videos showing a flower sack jump from a couple of years ago, to be honest, using OpenToonz. So that one you might find interesting as well. And I link to that on the Discord. So if you're on the Discord server, look in the video playlists channel and you'll see that series of videos linked from there. You might find that useful. Okay, so I hope you all had a good Christmas break and are ready to get back into the action. Do any of you, while you're here, have any New Year's resolutions that you're going to be working on, or anything that perhaps I can help with in the coming few months? Any areas you're trying to get into of using OpenToonz or Tahoma? Do let me know. I made quite a few kind of New Year's resolutions. I talked about in my video on Friday, which we'll chat about in a second. It's mainly about making more interesting videos and videos I think you'll be interested in. Also about making more animations, including YouTube Shorts, which we're going to start one of today. And for me, Santa treated me to a new computer this year, so that was really nice of him. So this is my first stream using my new computer, so I hope I've set it up okay. Hope the stream's coming through okay with the picture and sound all working fine. It all seems okay from my side as I'm looking at things over here, but do let me know if there are any problems. I did save out my OBS settings, which I re-imported and added, and I hope they're working all right. So far so good. It seems to have most of what I need. That's right, Dave. Default in Krita, that's right. And this is why people coming from that software and others might find it useful. And it's a really nice feature that after having a little play with it, already I think I'd rather stick with it. And it's now the default behavior in Tahoma from the nightly build and when it's put into the next official release. So if you do like the implicit holds, then perhaps you want to grab the nightly build, maybe. Entirely up to you, because you are obviously midway through a production, but you can, as you know, download multiple versions of Tahoma because they are portable versions, and just try it out, maybe see if it works for you. Possibly have a look. We'll have a chat about a few things in a little while about that. Thank you, Wanted. Appreciate that. Really appreciate that. Hi. You want to tutor about making a good colour palette in Tahoma2D. What do you mean by a good colour palette? Is this about colour theory and mixing the colours between the character and the foreground, about having complementary colours? Because that kind of thing is really available for any software or any kind of art package, or even working on pencil and paper. So probably Google for, or go to YouTube and search for colour theory could be a good place to start for you there. Let me jump back into my, there we go, back into the study, into the comfy chair. Oh, that's a good cuppa. Yeah, I think you'll like it, Dave. I really do. But you'll take a look. As I say, if you're still on the stream, in about 20 minutes, I'll be using it myself and showing how it works exactly. Yeah, reference fills, of course. That's another one, Dave, you might enjoy. Reference fills are perhaps a bit peculiar in how they're implemented, but it allows you to have your ink lines on one column and the fill on a totally different column. So that might be something that you're interested in. For me, I'm quite happy to have the fills on the same column in the same drawings as the lines, but not everybody is. But also it's worth saying, so I mentioned this in a stream towards the end of last year, that if you do use the reference fills, it does mean you can put one colour in one column and a different fill colour in a separate column and apply effects separately to them both, because it's based on columns, or even making them transparent, invisible, animating the transparency, adding glow effects just for one particular colour. And you can do this with vector and smart raster levels, or Toonz raster levels, by using the palette filter effect, of course, but it could be more easy for you to do it with the reference fill. So we'll see how, so give that a go and see if that works for you. Sorry, I'm just distracting myself with the chat over here. Hello, Kronos. Good to have you with us today. Kronos, are you a member of my Discord server? Because if you are, you can find... there you go. Thank you, Tom. Oh, did I leave a link in the description? I've forgotten. I was about to direct you to the downloads channel where I've got all the links for OpenToonz Tahoma, related sites that you'll want to use for them, and other useful downloads. But yeah, if the nightly build is in there, thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. Always there with the good advice. Thank you very much. Okay, so also wanted to mention today, I'm looking down my list of things. I've had a busy old week planning for today. Let's try and make sure that I mention everything and chat about things and bring issues up. If you follow me on Twitter or Instagram, you'll have seen that I've repainted my studio. I emptied almost everything out, stripped it bare, repainted it, and I've moved back in this past week or so, which has been a fun nightmare, I must admit, because I wanted to change the colour. The walls were painted like a yellow colour, and that affected a bit of the reflection on the camera here during the streams. And I also used to take photos of my thumbnails against the wall, so you had some yellow bleeding through. So I've changed it to be a plain white, just to get a neater, plainer room in here for recording videos and doing photos and what have you. And it gave me an opportunity to tidy out the room, clear it out, and get it rebuilt, ready for work again for this new year, which is kind of nice to have a kind of a fresh look, a fresh setup in here. And I've still got more to do, but so far I'm really happy with it. Having the green screen behind me means I've got to have the room laid out this way. I might change that in the coming weeks, but we'll chat about that another time. I've had a few thoughts on that. We'll come back to doing that. So as I say, I had a new computer over Christmas from Santa. Also got a new camera. So hopefully the picture should be a bit neater. It seems to be from my side. So I'm less purple coloured as I used to be. So that's good for me. I'm really happy with how that's coming through. And it also gets a clearer picture for cropping out the green. So hopefully there's less fuzz behind me. But that's kind of enough about what's happening in my world, I think. So Ajahn asking, what's the use of the flipbook? Sorry, I saw you ask that earlier. I didn't answer. So the flipbook is used for a few different reasons and depends on your workflow. For me, I don't really use it that much, apart from when you hit preview, and that shows in the flipbook. So it's a good way to take a look at your animation. And you'll find a video of that coming out in a couple of weeks, talking about previewing and how to use the flipbook. So thanks for asking that question, Ajahn. But as we've talked about before, there's so many features in OpenToonz that you won't necessarily want to use them all or even look them up at the beginning. I'd honestly keep it to one side and not worry too much about the things you don't want to know. So take it easy, one step at a time. Start to work on the program parts, the parts of the program that you do want to know and need to understand, whether it be the timeline, the different brushes, and then the rendering options, just to start working on your animations, and then branch out into the plastic tool, flipbook, the effects, and all the other parts. Yes, no problem, Kronos. Yes, if you want to, if you get a chance to join the Discord server, you'll find a lot more help on there and links that you'll find useful, as well as most of the guys here that's in the chat are on the Discord, so you can chat to them, ask questions, ask for their advice, share your animations and art for them to take a look at. And I think that's Theta. Is it hello? Hello there, Theta? Possibly. 0 with a line through it. Could be right. We'll see. You let me know if that's your name. Right, thank you, Tom. So it's an old one. Yeah, I don't tend to have too many links in the YouTube description for the live stream video unless they're relevant to that specific live stream. So I've obviously left that in from last time. So you take a look at that. Okay, so before we, thanks for the questions so far. Before we start doing some drawing, as I like to do each week, should we take a look at what happened since I was last here? What happened last week? So this section is a chance for me to let you know about any OpenToonz or animation news that I've heard about since we last streamed, or any news about what you've been working on, and share what I've been working on since we were last here. So let's just bring down the screen. Here we go. Okay, so what did I release with my video for last week? There we are. So it was a video all about the results of the polls that I took at the end of 2021. But I wanted to know what you all thought about various things about the channel so that I could improve them for 2022. I had some ideas myself about the direction I wanted to go in and what I thought you might want. So running the polls was a useful way for you to tell me, no, Darren, you're wrong. This isn't what we really want. This is. And you did. And it was fantastic. We had so many people responding to the polls by either voting or adding comments. And it's really great to see all of them in there. And some of the comments really helped me decide what I'll be doing this year. So I really appreciate that. But the main takeaway for me was about the type of tutorials, or at least the length of tutorials that I make. And I will keep making tutorials this year. It's kind of the core of what I want to do at the minute on the channel. And I'll probably stick with the shorter length tutorials that I've been making in the past 6 months or so. So about 5 or 6 minutes long, trying to keep them short and tight to the point so that I could get the tip over to you in as little time as possible so you can move on to the next tip or on with doing some animation. But one thing that came out of the poll was that you're quite happy to have the longer tutorials, so perhaps 10 minutes or so, 10 to 15 minutes. And that really surprised me. So that was really, really good to see. So as the need arises, I'm quite happy now to make the longer tutorials or to let them drift on longer if there's more to tell you. So I'll be continuing with that and keeping that sort of length tutorial. But despite I considered that you might want to have shorter tutorials, you sort of told me no for that. But I was thinking if I do get a short tip, then I will make it, again, to keep it as tight as possible. There's no need to add fluff and filler if it's just a small piece of information that I want to share with you. But that's useful information from you about the length of those videos. And then sort of the final part of that was I am going to start a Patreon. and it's something I've thought about for a long time doing, but I didn't really want to create a Patreon without the necessary rewards. So this is something that stopped me doing it all along. So I'll put this out into the poll to ask what you thought about potential rewards. And the poll was really useful, and the results were really useful, letting me know that what I was thinking of handing out as a reward really is useful to you and what you'd like to see. So I'll be sharing some additional content on the Patreon, whether it be behind the scenes videos, the project files that I'm working on, and other information, other tips, and also my additional OpenToonz companion apps are going to be included in one of the tiers on there. But I'll give more details about that in the next week or so. And I'm not going to launch it until February. And this is because of the way Patreon deals with monthly payments. And if some of you decided, if I launched the Patreon right now, and some of you decided to join, when you join, you pay at that point, but then Patreon takes the recurring payment out on the 1st of each month. And I didn't want to make a video, release it a week before the end of the month, you pay your monthly amount to Patreon, and then a week later have another amount taking out. That doesn't seem fair. So I'm waiting until the start of February to release full details. It also gives me time to get some of the rewards already into Patreon ready for launch day, so that you can get them immediately on signing up. So I'm looking forward to getting that started. So you'll see that on around the 1st of February. Thank you, Null. So Null is the name. Hello there, Null. Welcome. Just reading through some of the chat. Amar, hello there, welcome to the stream. Glad you could make it today. Good to have you here again. So I'll just mention as well, what else have I done since I saw you last? And I've mentioned that I've painted my office here, my little studio. I've got myself a new computer set up, so hopefully it'll make it easier to create videos and tutorials, but we'll see how that affect things in the coming weeks. I've been very busy planning for this coming year, trying to work out exactly what I'm going to do, trying to get ahead, writing a few scripts for the coming weeks. So I've got the next few weeks tutorials planned out ready, as well as for the Patreon launch. And I've also taken a nice long break from making videos. So I've had time where I've just had time to myself without being concerned about making a video for Fridays. Or for preparing for the streams, because they can take up quite a long time. So that's been nice, just to have a lovely break. So it's been great just to get the time off. Idaji, hi. Is that Vincent from Spain? Welcome. Good to have you with us. And Bepa, hello. Good to have you here. Golden Slime, welcome. No problem at all. You stay as long or short as you like, and as I said earlier, the stream will be saved for the next week or so on the public site, so you'll be able to see that, and it'll be shared in my live stream playlist. So as I've been away for a while, I've not been able to share details of any new developments or about any work you've done. And one of the things that I wanted to share was from one of the members here on the channel and on the Discord server, who's been working really hard with us, and he's been sharing lots of videos I just wanted to highlight today. And that's our friend Tom, or Tom Does Art. So he's been working on lots of videos to do with expressions. So I've got a link to this in the video playlist channel on the Discord server, and like all the links today, you can find them down in the description. So he's made lots of videos here about how to use the function editor and expressions to create different animations that you might find useful as you're working on some of your animations. So it's got details here about moving, rotating the wheel on the curve path, how to link animation elements so they can all move together, we've got the AMAT expression details, which I believe you can see some details in the online manual, but he's got explanation of how this actually works, along with a project you can download. So as you move one of your columns, like this circle, the other columns all point at it, which is really useful for automating some of your animation. This is a great one. Reciprocating rod attached to the wheel. So quite a few things working together in tandem from different columns. And as you can see from this example, in particular, it's really good using the expressions for mechanical style animations. And just to show you one more at the bottom here, there's this example for animating waves, wag and waves. So by using a controller column, that's this line vertical on the left, and at the top there's the horizontal line moving left and right, you can set the angle and the speed and pace of the wave or of the wagging tail. Let me show you that here on screen a little bit clearer. There we are. So for me, I think some of these are useful for some basic general animations for background characters perhaps, but also for things like I was considering visual screens. If you've got a spaceship design and you've got like a radar system or something happening in the background, having these automated mechanical looking movements that you can control using controllers could be really, really useful. So do take a look at those, and thanks Tom as always for sharing them. Really, really great series of videos. German bots. Thank you, Amar. I see. If they are German bots, if you are German and you're here, welcome. Guten Abend. If you aren't, then bot off. Absolutely, Dave. So you've already downloaded it and taken a look, or you've looked at the link in the description about Implicit Holds, perhaps. It's really good. I'm going to keep using them. I think they're excellent. It certainly is Hen the Pen. Very impressive. Do take a look at those expression videos. Drop a comment on the videos. Give them a like. Give Tom all the support you can. He's done a great job. And you've put so much time into these. I really appreciate it. And so does the community. I know they do. So next, I wanted to share some details of some developments that have happened since I was last here. For OpenToonz and Tahoma, there's been quite a lot of developments going through. I can't show them all. Even for just the past 4 weeks, there's been maybe, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 different things being, bugs have fixed, or small features added, or small tweaks, especially for the effects. I know that Shun has done a lot in there. Okay, Dave, great, yeah. In that case, I'm looking forward to your stream later to take a look at how you find using them. Vasily, hello there, welcome to the stream. Yeah, so do so many of us, and also struggle with using the effects and expressions. So again, this is something I've talked about doing and thought about doing for a while, of creating a playlist of videos to explain expressions and how you can use them. And I may still do so at some point, try to create a simplified version of how you might use them for maybe specific areas. But in the meantime, grab a load of these videos. You can't go wrong. So the next thing I want to do is talk about some of these features that have been developed and point out my favourite few. So let's just jump back onto the screen again. Here we are. So the first feature I want to talk about was a very simple one, the pass-through nodes. And many of you may not have used the effects. And if you have used the effects, you might not have used the pass-through node. You don't know what it's for, you've not found a use for it, or what have you. But the main thing you'd use a pass-through node for is for macro effects. And instead of the pass-through node looking as it used to do, like the green boxes on the left for the columns, like a large box, instead the interface was changed to show a small circle to look different, because there's no properties or effects values you can change on the pass-through. Literally, you plug one side of your node that way. You plug your column into the pass-through node and the pass-through node into an effect. So it doesn't make any change in the middle, and you might think, what's the point of that? And it's useful for creating a named input for a macro effect. So without it, in this example on the screen here, if you created a macro of the 3 right-hand side nodes, the 2 inputs to the first 2 nodes are both called source. So without the pass-through node, you'd have 2 inputs called source, and you wouldn't know which one is which. So in the example you can see here, the pass-through node has been renamed. Here we go. The first pass-through node is renamed to shadow, and then the second one is renamed to light. So then when you create a macro by right-click dragging, right-click, make a macro, you've now got 2 inputs called light and shadow. So this is a small feature that was created, added in Tahoma2D first. So you can find that in Tahoma now, and it's just been moved over to OpenToonz. The next feature I want to talk about, this is a good one, especially for those of you with multi-threaded computers. Dave, you'll love this. First thing to say about this, before you start using it, save your scene. Do save all to make sure everything is saved, because there's occasionally it will crash while doing the process of rendering. First thing to say, always save before rendering. So what this new feature does, it makes use of your multiple threads in your computer. So by default, when you get this nightly build with this in, or in the next version of OpenToonz, if you go to Preferences, Import Export, you can enable multi-threading. And if you do that, when you next render using FFmpeg, it'll use all the threads and render much quicker. In the code here, Just Burner, who did the work, suggested between 6 and 8 times quicker for rendering compared to rendering with this turned off. I know that somebody else, was it Ratus, I think, was using this and got to something like 12 or 15 times quicker. So depending what your scene contains, if it's made up of effects or a plastic tool, images, vectors, or just plain raster images, you will get different scaling of the rendering improvements. But using this, you'll get a huge increase in rendering in the time it takes to render. So it's a welcome addition into the program. One other small thing you get is a responsive finalizing window. So where you get the progress bar, and it goes from 0 to 99%. That's while it's generating an image for each of your frames. And the final 1% is where it collates those images using FFmpeg into the video. And that's why it takes so long in that last section of rendering. And with this fix, instead of the whole screen being held sort of freezing up in that last section, now it's a bit more responsive. So you can move the dialogue round, you'll see a spinner to let you know there's progress happening, and it's just a bit more professional, I think, for the finalizing stage. But the main point about this is the speed up of the rendering, so that's a welcome addition, and that's currently in OpenToonz. And as with all of these fixes, they will be moved over to Tahoma and the next round of importing of fixes from OpenToonz, which will probably be in the next few weeks or so. So the next few weeks, if you use Tahoma, you'll be able to get hold of the nightly build with all of these issues fixed in there. Absolutely, Amar. GPU support for the brush engine would be great. And you never know who's working on these things, because this job from Just Burner, the first I heard about this was when he said he'd put the code into the main branch. So he's quietly working on it in the background. So fingers crossed for anything like this that is being worked on. So the next task I wanted to talk about, this is a good one. Improvements to the audio recording. And I'm so pleased to see this. Again, it's another fix by Just Burner. Absolutely knocking it out of the park with these fixes. The improvements to the audio recording, before this was added to OpenToonz, when you recorded audio from within the program, which you can do using the panel. If you go to the panels window, and there's a menu item in there, record audio. That allows you to record audio directly in the program. It used to record at, I believe it was 8 kilohertz every time, which is a little bit low, so your audio might not be as clear as you'd want it to be. So you wouldn't really use the internal audio recording for a final audio output, but it was good and handy for getting some quick and dirty recording into your animation for animatics or just for placeholder audio. Quite handy without having to go to a separate program, recording, editing and then saving. You could do it directly in the program. But with this fix, you can now choose the scale to record at, along with quite a few other fixes. So if I scroll up here, there we go. So the top image here is the audio dialogue before, and the bottom one is the new dialogue after this fix. So you can better choose the device. There's been some bugs fixed there for you to choose your input audio device. So if you've got multiple microphones, or if you've got a laptop and a separate microphone, your laptop may have its own microphone built in, or your webcam may have a microphone built in, so you can choose which device to record from. You can choose the sample rate to record at, which now increased it from 8 kilohertz up to 44 kilohertz or beyond. And you can choose the sample format of mono and stereo, etc. And there's been a few changes with the interface just to make it a bit neater, to make more sense, and to make it a little bit more consistent with other dialogues. Let me just take a quick look at the list here, bugs that's been fixed. Various bugs fixed. Again, all these links are down in the description. If you want to take a read of the main point of each of these improvements, and below there might be a conversation with backwards and forwards of bug fixes for them. So do take a look at those links down below. So you've got fixes like you can refresh your devices list to choose the microphone properly without having to reopen the program. It's added tool tips, and there's various other things, so do take a look at that. So Kozo's Cartoons and Comics. How do you upgrade your OpenToonz? I have got a video on this in the channel. If you take a search through for either upgrade OpenToonz or just OpenToonz, or scroll down the list of videos, you'll find it. It was about 2 or 3 months ago I think I made it. But basically, yes, you do have to download it yourself. It doesn't update on its own. I believe it should tell you, it should check when you start if there's a new version and let you know. But the minute a new version comes out of OpenToonz once a year in about February time, so the next version is due out. However, as fixes like this are put into, are created and PR'd into the main code base, you can take a look at them by downloading a nightly build. And if you go to the OpenToonz main download page for OpenToonz, here we are. So click on downloads and click on OpenToonz. On the screen here we can download your version, the latest version. This is from February of last year. At the bottom there's a nightly build for Mac and for Windows. So if you download that version, that is the very latest code, including all of these fixes and any other new fixes that have appeared since the last release. And this is the version I always recommend people downloading, the nightly release, because it's absolutely bang up to date with all the bug fixes and improvements that have been made. I believe you can, Kronos. Yes. You can import I'm saying yes. I'm having second thoughts. If you take a look in the online manual that you get to from the help menu in OpenToonz, do a search in the manual for importing audio, and it describes there exactly what you can import. But I think with this fix for the audio improvements, I think this allows you to import at these same rates as you can export. So yeah, do give this a go. Take a look in the manual first, and then if you do get the latest build, you should be able to, but take a look, give it a go. You'll soon find out if you can. I mean, I get questions all the time of, can you do this, can you do that? And often, without trying to sound rude for not answering the question, the answer is often, just try it yourself, give it a go, drag it in. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I mean, before you do anything that you're unsure of, always hit save all, so you can't lose anything if it does make a crash happen. Otherwise, just give it a go, just try it. Question from Happy Person is here. Did I ever change from Windows 10 to 11? Great question, I'm glad you mentioned that. And I'm glad you mentioned it because, yes, my new computer is Windows 11. I had a choice when I ordered it to go for Windows 10 or 11. So I figured I'd upgrade straight away to 11. I'd only have to do it later. So I've done it straight from the beginning. So this is Windows 11. So this lets you know that you can use OpenToonz and Tahoma on Windows 11. So yes, definitely. Okay, so take a look at these links to find out exactly all about each of the features that you might be interested in. But improvements to audio recording, I'm so excited for, and I'm especially excited for when this feature gets imported over to Tahoma. And for me, the reason for that is it'll allow us to record audio in Tahoma2D and use the Rhubarb automatic lip sync on that audio. Because currently Tahoma records audio as OpenToonz used to in 8 kilohertz, but annoyingly Rhubarb only works on, I think, 16 or 32-bit audio files. So you can't use the internally recorded audio with the internally built-in auto lip sync. So I'm really looking forward to getting this so that we can record in the program and do the lip sync straight away, or at least the bass positions for the lip syncs, because you'll still want to manually change them to fix them up to what your character is saying, to fix any parts that are wrong, and to refine it to match your character's character. So I'm looking forward to getting that in Tahoma, and again, that should be there the next month or so, maybe. We'll see how that goes along. So that's audio recording. The next feature, oh, there's so many of these features. The next one that I chose to mention here. Hello, Thomas. Hello, welcome. Glad you made it here. Yep, the stream is recorded, so you'll find it on YouTube later to catch the start. No problem. Okay, so the next feature I want to talk about is the cell mark feature. And I think this looks more useful today than it actually is, but there's new improvements coming with this in the near future. So let's see first of all what it is. So this feature allows you to put a coloured marker on a specific cell, so in a column and in a frame. And this is really useful if you want to render out a PDF version of your timeline or X sheet. And I think this is the reason it's been created, so that you can do so. And if I just open up that image here, here we are. So you can see if you do generate or export your X sheet as a PDF, you can choose the coloured markers that's on the frames to show as an in-between or reverse sheet mark or a keyframe. This is really useful for generating X sheets on paper that are more like the old style X sheets that current animators might want to use. And that's really good if you place them directly before you print out your X sheet on paper. But for those of us working in the timeline or X sheet, the problem is the markers don't move as you insert and remove frames. So if you mark a certain frame having a keyframe and then you insert a number of frames beforehand or add a breakdown or in between, the marker doesn't move with that keyframe. So to me, it feels like a little bit useless, really, for what you might want to use it for. However, again, if you look down in the conversation for this PR, there is suggestion of improving that in the future to make those sort of things happen. And I've added a comment on this myself to say we really need that feature for this to be any use to people really that work entirely online digitally. So it's a great feature that seems okay. It still could be useful for some purposes. So take a look at it and see if it's useful for you. And as he mentioned in here, the default colours and names are consistent with the image marks that you get in TV Paint. So if you're from a TV Paint background, you might find this useful. And the final thing to mention here really is that you can change the names of the markers from your scene settings. There's a button at the bottom to edit cell marker names so that each marker colour can have a name. So you might name one colour to be keyframes, then breakdowns and in-betweens. So you might find that useful. But as I say, at the minute, they don't move with the drawings as you increase and decrease the timing. So just be aware of that, but give it a go. You might find a use for it. And it's something that I keep seeing people asking for because of other software of whether they can add that or not. So do take a look. What's next? Oh, there's a lot of news today. So one of the things, let me go back a second. One of the things in the poll from last year I asked was about the live streams as to whether you want a news section or not. Because I think some people prefer just to see drawing or animation, to see how OpenToonz and Tahoma work, how you might solve certain problems that we've had some questions of today, and just to see someone doing some drawing and animation. So I just wanted to check if that's what you wanted. And it came back resoundingly. You enjoyed the news section to be able to keep up on developments and new features that's happened in the program. So I'm sticking with including it in the live streams, but I'm open for that changing over the coming months. But today is very news heavy just because of the time I've been off and the amount of work that's gone into the programs. Absolutely, Maria. I think it could be useful for planning. And once you've timed out your animation, it could still be useful for marking your keyframes or just key points in the animation. If you imagine you've added a piece of music as you do into your lovely animations, and you might want to mark when you think the character should turn or hit a position, or you want to change the scene in some way, maybe change the background, bring in a character to hit a certain beat of the music. So rather than, as I've been doing so far, add note levels on certain frames to mark it, it might be easier just to add a colour marker so you can see that at this point something important happens. So as I say, take a look, might be useful. I believe I read that Manung John has brought the cell markers into Tahoma, and I believe instead of having circles, he's marked the whole cell, the square cell, in that colour. We'll take a look in a bit after the break when I do some drawing, and I think it's in the current version I've got, which is a nightly build from either last night or this morning, so it's very, very recent. Okay, so I've already given you a quick snapshot. So the next feature, which I know some of you will absolutely love and will already imagine a use for this in your current project, and that's an addition to the fractal noise effects. So the image on the left is the fractal noise as it currently is today, and it's a way to create a little bit of random noise in your in perhaps a texture for your animation. So if you've got clouds in the sky, or the obvious one is water, a lake surface, or you may have lava or steam. There's so many areas where you might have the need to have some sort of slightly random noise in the background that you can animate. It is, Dave. I thought it was. I thought I saw it, but as I say, I think he's changed it for how it looks. In fact, I've still got Tahoma open down here, haven't I? So if I right click, I can show you this right now, I think. So I did see this in OpenToonz the other day because I've got a latest nightly build. Cell mark, I couldn't see it at first. So yeah, cell mark, and you can choose your colour, which are currently named just after the colour, but you can change the names. So let's make it yellow. Yep, and it makes the whole cell yellow. So we can change that one. make it purple. So yeah, so you can mark the cells with different colours just to give an indication of what that particular frame means to you. Yeah, thank you, Dave, for mentioning that. And if I go to the scene settings, in fact, I'm showing you that and I realise it's off the screen right now. Let me just bring that up here. Here we are. You can see that there. So I've made this one yellow and this one purple. And I did that by right-clicking, cell mark, and then choose the colour. Yep, got it, Tom, thank you. And again, cell mark, none, to remove it. And if you go to your scene settings, which I'll bring up here, just resize that. Edit cell marks at the bottom, there's a button there, and that's where you can change the names. So perhaps the purple, instead of just being called purple, that might be a keyframe. And again, as with most dialogues in Tahoma and OpenToonz, there's no OK cancel button, which really annoys me. So you just close the window, and now that's now known as a keyframe cell mark. And I think ideally that would appear as a tooltip over the top of that. Maybe that'll come later. Not yet, Tom. No. Reason being, I did take a look at it and I've saved the link for myself. It looks really useful to do when windows are docked to the sides of the screens in different layouts. It looks really good. But as I've got things today, I've reorganized things today, windows on my second screen, they're overlapping and not quite docked in that way. And I've got them overlapping to make the best use of my screen space. So I've got one overlapping another of where there's a top toolbar or the top menu bar that I don't need to see, and it gives you more space to see the content. Because I've got, what, 7 or 8 different windows on my second screen over here, so I can keep an eye on the chat, and I've got OBS visible, so I can see, hopefully, what screen's visible, and I can tell when things are off the screen, that kind of thing, as well as various others. So I've not installed it just yet, but I might use it at some point I can see it being useful for other purposes. No, Alan. Hello there, Alan, by the way. Nice to see you today. No, keyframe, it's not like keyframe caddy that Flash has. Yeah, exactly. So in Windows where you can dock a window to one side and pair a second one to the right to split your screen in two, using this tool, you can create zones. So you could have a top left and a bottom left, and then 2 others taking up thirds. You can work out the grid yourself to what's useful for you. So Tom was suggesting it for me during the streams to be able to dock all my different windows that I use. And it may be something I come back to. It might make it easier to dock. But again, over the coming weeks, I'll see. Now I'm back into a new year for starting streaming again. Yeah, it looks really useful. So do a Google for that. Power Toys, Fancy Frames. You might find it useful yourself. Absolutely wanted. I fully agree. For basic effects, there's no need to go to compositing software. I think you're giving yourself a headache because you'd have to render out the background separate from the foreground characters to be able to apply a blur to the background, for instance. Whereas in OpenToonz, it's already set up as columns where you can do that kind of separation for applying effects. So if you can do it directly inside of OpenToonz or Tahoma, then it's best to do so. Okay, so back to the effects for the fractal noise. So we had kind of a fractal noise shifting, moving, which can be animated, which is great for certain things, let's say like water and clouds and steam. But now there's a new option of canonical transform to create kind of a cone view to show the effect of you moving forwards or backwards through a 3-dimensional space. And that could be useful perhaps if you looking down on a scene where there's steam coming out of something and that can be coming towards you, or other areas where you're perhaps moving forwards or backwards, space scenes. People are asking quite a lot, how can I recreate a driving through space scene with the stars coming towards me, this could be useful for that. So there's lots of information on this PR page. Again, links down in the description. Do take a look if you're vaguely interested in that. And they show some different effects you get by having different values for the canonical angle and the field of view, etc. And at the bottom here, you can see an effect where the center of the cone is offset. So all of the background is kind of going to one side, give you a different perspective. So there's a good set of examples on here to see how you can use this effect. So do take a look at that and have a think if that's useful for you. I'm just taking a look at my YouTube screen over here, and I can see that there is quite a delay between me showing you something and it coming through. So I might be a little bit behind on some of your comments, but I am keeping an eye on them. So that's a really useful effect that you might want to take a look at, especially if you've already used the plain fractal noise option. Alon Dan! It's Mr. Dan Insane himself. Hello, Alon. Great to have you with us. Sorry I couldn't stay with your stream you was working on the other night, last night. Great to see you streaming again with your new animation software. It's looking really nice, and in particular, one feature I caught as I jumped on only for a few minutes of switching the order of the sub layers. Is that what you call them? Looks really neat. I really like that. So you can move, keep the ink lines at the front with the fills at the back, and then moving other parts in between them. Oops, excuse me. In between them as necessary. That looks really nice. So great to see that. Please do keep sharing when you're going live on the server. I know plenty of the guys here on the Discord server and here from YouTube are going to be interested in what you're working on. So it's good to see that. Where did I see the examples? These are from, if you click on the link down in the description, you'll see it takes you to a web address, which is the OpenToonz pull request page. And that's where every time there's a new piece of code moves into the core base code, there's an entry, a new page put on here with the examples. So I keep an eye on what's happening each day. So I can just find out what's new that you'll enjoy and that I'll find useful as well. So you can take a look at that yourself and keep an eye on that if you want to. So again, all the links down below, do take a look at that. Absolutely, Eric. Oh, there's so many uses for this effect. Absolutely so many. And it's always surprising when you see somebody using some of the effects, how they use them. And I think there's enough effects in OpenToonz and Tahoma for most of what you want to do. With a bit of thought, and it's something I know Dave has mentioned on his channel a few times, that you might think you can't do something, but a bit of thought, a bit of understanding about how the effects work and how the parameters change it, you can kind of bend them a little bit and use them to what you want and combine them. That's the important part, combining them. And this is something I want to put into a tutorial at some point, for sure, macro effects, where you can combine different types of effects to create one overall effect. So you might apply an effect to change the brightness and blur an image partially, or blur some colors, only some of the colors, not all of the colors. Then add an effect to add kind of some noise or some purling noise or something, just to add some texture. Combine that into a single effect, and you can apply that on any column so quickly. So yeah, do take a look through these effects. I keep telling people all the time, give it a go, see what you can do with them. Claude, hello, welcome back. Yeah, I've not seen you for a long time. Good to have you with us. Excellent. That's fantastic. Well done, Claude. That's great news. How long am I going to be today? I'm not sure. Let's see what time it is right now. So it's 4 o'clock, so I've been going for an hour so far. Yes, Maria, you won't regret it. Do take a look at Alan's back catalogue of the cartoons he's done. I think you'll enjoy them. Be aware some of them are earworms. earworms even. They'll get stuck in your head because he does like a sing song. But you'll definitely enjoy them. Yes, Tom, there's another one. Absolutely. Water coming from a waterfall. There's so many uses for this effect. There really is. If you like, Alan, if you want to share a couple of links to some of your favourite cartoons on the Discord server, absolutely, please do. I know people will get a kick out of that, so feel free to. What was that one with the duck? Oh, there was your duck rap. I know you're about to tell me. It's not Hooker Duck. It's looking really sweet, that is, isn't it, Amar? The new application really is. Sorry, Dave. So you asked for how long I'll be today. So I've been about an hour. I got through the news and things. I've got a couple more things to talk about. I'm going to take a short break then for 5 minutes. Then I want to do a bit of drawing. I'm not sure how much I'm going to be doing. I don't want it to be a long one today because I know I've got a tendency to sit here for 4 or 5 hours, and it does wear me out. As you know, after an hour or two you get quite tired, which is why I take these breaks. I'd like to do enough drawing to get a feel for the basics of the animation. So I'd say I'm not going to be here for any more than 3 hours. So another couple of hours, maybe an hour, hour and a half, 2, maybe. If you want to check back now and again, or pop me on just the speakers, and I'll let you know when I'm coming towards the end of this. And again, as we've said before, if you're ready to start your stream directly after mine, I'm absolutely more than happy to pop the link in the chat. Let people know to go straight from mine to yours, because I think a lot of people here that haven't seen what you do will really enjoy what you do. So that'd be a good place to follow on. So do let me know when you can stream, and I'll let you know as I'm coming towards the end. Is South Park still going, Claude? I've not seen South Park for such a long time. Let me show you the next piece of news then, which is a change to the tile effect. How far from that is now, Dave? 1 PM? Because it's 4 PM now. How many hours away from now is that? This international time thing is really confusing. You're right. The Tahoma OpenToonz is my favourite, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what you've made with yours. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing it. 2 hours? Perfect. So that'll be 6 PM UK time. Yep, that's great. That's a good, gives me a good place to aim for. And if you want to set up your stream in advance, because then you can copy the link and drop it through to me on the Discord. If you want to share it on the public Discord, and I'll pop it into my chat towards the end for people to come and join you. Oh, thank you, Alan. Really appreciate that. Yeah, so 2 hours, so let's crack on. Alrighty. So the next effect I want to mention, as I say, Shun's been going effect crazy this past month or two. It's made so many fixes and tweaks to the effects. It's worth taking a look at in the PR list to find out what he's done, or just when you download the latest, have a look through and see what the new options are. So he's made a couple of fixes here. Great, Dave. He's made a couple of fixes here to allow you to choose whether, when you use the tile effect, if it uses the actual image size, so the physical size of the image you've added to OpenToonz or Tahoma when you drag it in, or if you create an image which is the full size of the camera, that'll be the full camera size, or the bounding box of what's being drawn. So you can see here, it shows the difference between the two. So the bounding box is where all the pixels are that you've drawn. It works that out. Or the image size, which is the whole size of your level, if you've created it, or the dragged in image. So now by choosing that, when you do tile, you get the option of seeing the character pixels touching end to end if you choose the bounding box, or if you choose the image size, you get to see the external white area as well. And the reason why I find this interesting is when I did my part towards the Bugs Bunny collaboration, I had a scrolling background, and where it joined, there was a small sliver, a pixel sliver gap between the two, and I struggled to get that covered. I did in the end by tweaking and fiddling. But part of the fix here is it fixes that. So when you tile, they really should be tiled side by side, so you can see, so that your tiles join without leaving any kind of gap. And as you mentioned in the PR, this is thanks to an issue someone reported about when they applied a blur, it gave them a gap between the two. So that'll fix that little issue that I've always had with tiling. Just check up on the chat. Yeah, it is. Thank you, Alan. Yeah, it really is interesting about the way they work it. That you've got the option now of saying, I really want the whole of this screen to be tiled, regardless of having space, because I really want to leave the space around the pixels, or tightly group the pixels together so that when you tile them, they do go absolutely bang up to each other. So you've got the option now of working in both areas, both ways. Yeah, I didn't realise, Claude. South Park isn't shown on any standard terrestrial UK channels. I think it's on perhaps some of the streaming services, or if we get other channels through satellite, but not on the standard one, so I've not seen it for a long time. Great, thank you, Alan. Great question. Are these OpenToonz or Tahoma? A bit of both. They're literally OpenToonz improvements, but for instance, the first feature of renaming the pass-through nodes was taken from Tahoma2D, as it tells us at the top of the screen here. So if you download Tahoma2D latest nightly build, you can rename pass-through nodes now, and if you download the OpenToonz, you can now download it. But for instance, the multi-threaded is only in OpenToonz, not yet in Tahoma. But at some point in the next few weeks, Manong John will be pulling over all of these fixes, as he does intermittently, into Tahoma. So if you watch the Tahoma PR channel to see the pull requests of code being added, at some point in the next few weeks you'll see an entry of improvements from OpenToonz, which will include all of these. Yeah, personally, I've kind of moved to Tahoma for a couple of reasons. So today I'm using Tahoma after I take a break. For a couple of reasons. The first reason being there's a bug with OpenToonz and my tablet. I'm fairly sure it's my tablet and the tablet driver, that if I am using OpenToonz and click to another application, maybe to join a chat like Discord and to write a message, then if I use my stylus to click back into OpenToonz, just realise I've still got my lights turned down. Let me just turn them back. Yeah. And then I click back in the stylus back into OpenToonz, it crashes every single time. And I had this on a stream once, and half a dozen times I did this. I typed a message in Discord or in the chat window, came back to OpenToonz and killed it every time. It got so annoying that I now just draw, on the streams at least, in Tahoma. Plus Tahoma has a few extra features that OpenToonz doesn't, that I really wish would get transferred to OpenToonz, like the perspective options for the brush tool and for drawing straight lines based on specific angles or not using the brush tool. That's really, really useful. There's the copy and paste feature in Tahoma that OpenToonz hasn't got. So you can go to a different program, say Critter, and do a copy of, Control-C copy of the image on screen, go to Tahoma, hit paste, and you get a new level with that image without having to save it to disk first and re-import it. So it's a quick way to work. So I prefer using Tahoma for those reasons, but apart from that, they are pretty much the same. So everything I show in one tends to be available in the other. It is Claude, absolutely right. No, I don't know how they do it. apart from I've seen the behind the scenes of that episode where they showed how they made the episode. They just work late into the night. They do lots of shortcuts and they use cutout animation. And this is why I'm kind of keen to talk about cutout on the channel as well as frame by frame. I think it's really useful. Yeah, it really is, Alan. I know that Dave, I don't know if you're still here, Dave, or if you're busy elsewhere, but I'll name drop you. I know that's the reason Dave uses Tahoma, because he understands Critter really well, so often draws a background in Critter using the brushes and the effects and things he understands, and then does a copy of the image and pastes it directly into Tahoma to work with as a background. And it's really, there he is. And it's really useful just to get an image directly in. And again, that's another feature that would be great to have in OpenToonz. And really, it'd be good if the two programs just got together with their features. I know it's what people would want. Would get quicker development cycle, and you wouldn't have to choose between the two. Okay, so that was a tile effect, was the last development feature I mentioned. And the final one, and it's the big one for today, is the implicit frame hold feature. And this is something that many of you will be so pleased to see. And once I started using it, so was I. I didn't know it's something I needed. And I'd heard people asking for it in the past, and I thought to myself, is that really needed? Do we really need that? Is it hard to extend the exposure of a drawing? So what this does is, before this feature appeared, so in OpenToonz today and in Tahoma before this feature, if you wanted to show one drawing lasting for a long time in your timeline, you'd add the drawing in one frame, select it, and you get a little handle. And I know many of you will know this, but some of you won't do so. And then you grab the handle and you drag it to extend the drawing. Then you add a new drawing, drag it to extend it if you want to. And there is the feature to auto extend. So if you drew on frame 1 and this auto extend was turned on, move to frame 5 and start drawing, drawing 1 was automatically extended across frames 1, 2, 3 and 4 up until you're drawing on frame 5. And then you could draw on frame 10. And again, frame 5's drawing will be extended up to frame 10, and you could adjust those around. But if you'd done this with a single drawing on frames 1, 5 and 10, all fully extended, if you wanted the drawing on frame 5 to instead be on frame 4, seems like a simple thing to ask for. You'd have to highlight frames 1 to 4, and it seems a little bit like madness, but it's kind of okay if this is all you can do. So you highlight frames 1 to 4 for the first drawing. You'd then have to reduce the exposure for that. Then you'd have to select the rest of the frames and bring them back down by one frame. And it's kind of a bit fiddly. You could work with it, it's not a problem, but it is a bit messy. But and that's explicit frame holds. So you explicitly state where the drawings are shown on the frames. And the implicit option is to imply where the drawings are shown. So basically it means if you draw on frame 1, let's go that way around. Draw on frame 1 and then draw on frame 5. Frame 1's drawing won't be extended through to 5. It's implicitly known that frame 1 will be shown up until the point you get a new drawing. Yeah, Rough Animator, Critter does the same. I think TV Paint does the same. Many of them do, and it's something we've not had in OpenToonz or Tahoma. So you can see in the image here an example of how it works. So if I look at thinking about which one to show first, column 4, the third one down, there's a drawing on frame 1. Then there's 3 frame gap, then a drawing on frame 5, then a gap, then another drawing, but the frames in between have got a bit of colouring, and that's because the drawings are held. So column 4's drawings are held from the beginning for the first drawing, then the second drawing changes, that's held through those frames, then the third drawing is shown right through to the end of the play marker, without having to change the exposure. And that means you can grab the drawing in the middle and move it left and right across the gaps without having to change the exposure of the other drawings, which is really, really useful once you've got a feeling for how it works if you're used to using OpenToonz. And you can add a stop to stop showing the drawings by right-clicking in a space and choosing to add a stop marker so that the drawing is only shown for so many frames. So details about how to do that are in the PR, again linked down in the description, so take a look. And there's an option in the preferences it tells you about to enable the implicit holds. This is on by default, so when you first start Tahoma, after this PR from this nightly build and in the next full release, it'll be on by default, but you can choose to turn it off. And there's a button on the timeline to turn it off for the current scene. So you can change that as you need to for each scene. So there's lots of details about how this works in the PR, so take a look. But I'll be using this today after I've taken a small break for today's little animation. So we'll see how that works in action. So let me just jump back to the chat, see what I've missed. Okay, so it's... Oh, you are chatty today. It's nice to see. Ryukan-zan, hello, welcome. Good to have you back to the stream. You've not been here for a little while. Yeah, good to have you with us again. And Rough Animator does something similar. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, when you talk about no frames, I think this is what you're referring to, is where you can put a stop hold frame, I think he calls it. So if you look at the checkerboard effects, if you can see that, you might need to enlarge your screen. In fact, can I see this? If I show this in a new window and make this larger, here we go. So you can see on the checkerboard effects here, there's a drawing, or kind of the effect, it may as well be a drawing, shown from frame 1 through to frame 7, and on frame 8 you can see an X, and that's where you put a stop marker on to stop showing it. So it's only shown for 7 frames, then there's nothing shown in this column until frame 12, which is shown for 4 frames, and then another stop, so there's nothing else to the end of the scene. So I think that's what you're referring to. So yeah, you can choose exactly when to show them on a level by level basis. Claude's asking about symbols. Sorry, you asked about this earlier. I'm not quite sure what you want by symbols. I've been meaning to make a video. I've been asked so many times by different people about this, and I keep promising I will, and I haven't made time for it yet. I will make a video, I promise, for this. But the way symbols work in Flash, I've not used Flash for a while, but the way they work, it's just a method of either taking a single drawing or combining an animation, storing it in a symbol library, and then adding it to your scene, and potentially adding more than one to replicate, to have more than one character doing the same thing, and adding to a scene so that you can edit the symbol internally and it's shown in your main scene, but it's stored in a library, so you can use it in other scenes, in other projects. And we've already got that in OpenToonz and Tahoma in 2 or 3 different ways. The first way is every level is stored independently, so every drawing level. So if all you want are the drawings, so maybe for backgrounds or simple characters, or maybe frame by frame animated characters, they are stored in a single level, and you can load that or import it into a different scene, or you can duplicate it in the same scene. So I've got a video demonstrating having multiple terrible drawings, I know, but multiple characters in a crowd. So if you've got a crowd scene for a football game or a concert, and all the characters are going like this, and I've duplicated them in the same scene because I've just repeated the same level. So that's the first type of symbol. And the second type in OpenToonz Tahoma are using sub-X sheets, where you create an actual complete scene which can include multiple levels. So you might have your character separated onto different columns, animated differently, using the plastic tool, maybe even with effects, all within a single scene. And you save that out as a scene, and you can load it into any other project as a sub-X sheet, is the terminology in OpenToonz, or sub-scene is called in Tahoma. And again, you can add multiple of these, place them anywhere. You can scale them. You can position them differently. You can apply further effects to them, or do whatever you like. So that's kind of another symbol library that you can use. So hopefully that gives you an idea of the symbols you can use. But I do want to make an actual video showing how that works. I think a good time to do so, it's entirely up to you, Dave, sorry, when you want to announce the live stream on the Discord. When you want to do it, you could do it right now if you wanted to say what time it's going to be starting, and then people can see a countdown for that. And in fact, if you do that, let me know, and I'll probably open up a window on my screen so I can see the same countdown to time the ending of today's stream. That'll be quite a good timer, or you can do it nearer the time. So whenever you're ready to create it, just let me know you have, and I'll add the timer myself to take a look at. And where do I want you to announce it? I think, being as it's OpenToonz related, in the OpenToonz chat channel. It's OpenToonz and Tahoma. If it was just critter work you was doing, then maybe in the critter channel. But to be honest, the OpenToonz chat channel will be fine. Yeah, no problem. Let me give it a go again. Ryu Kenzen? Is that close? Yeah, we all keep getting busy. I know that taking out a couple of hours of your Sunday afternoon is quite a lot of time, which is why I know a lot of you put me on in the background, just put it in a separate window while you're working. And it's great to have a Sunday afternoon as a bit of a workspace for us all. So you work on your animation, I'll work on mine, and we sit here and chat together. So it's great to have you in today, that you've made time to join us. I know what you mean, Maria. I kind of thought that myself when I learned about the way the timeline worked for the exposure of drawings. It made sense. For me, it makes a lot of sense because it chimes with the traditional animation method. That if you're drawing on cell sheets, acetate sheets, and then you're taking a photo with a camera, you leave Mickey Mouse on the cell sheet, even if he's not moving, for taking the next picture. You've got to explicitly hold him in that view. So it makes some sense, but because again we're using digital tools, they're there to make our life easier. You haven't got to mirror precisely the way you do things in the analog world. So having this feature, as I say, as soon as I started using it, I felt quite comfortable and it seems to make sense. So I need to use it a bit more because I've only just started with it, and we'll take a look in a few minutes how that works in practice. The thing, I'm behind on the chat, give me a second. Alan mentioned about the nothing being the gap. Yeah, absolutely, it's great they did that. So you see on column 3 again, you can see there's a gap. So the X and the 2 spaces are the gap with nothing showing. And the thing I couldn't work out, because I was assuming that you'd right click, because you right click to add the holds. So you right click and choose an option of add stop hold. You'll see it shortly. And I thought there was a right click option to remove it, and there isn't. What you do is you left click and just tap delete. So delete that X, as you'll see in a second. So yeah, really useful, really useful. Okay, a swapping library. So at least you've considered what to do with a library style feature. It's what people want. It's what people expect when working on cartoons, because you've got recurring characters, especially recurring backgrounds. So good, that's good in there. And Toon Boom has symbols. Yeah, it's such a common feature that you expect to see. And it's a shame that OpenToonz doesn't have a panel to give the impression of a symbol library, because you've got these, again, implicit symbols, because you can reuse any part of your animation. Yeah, movie clips. I remember those. Yeah, it really is. It's 10 years, 10, 15 years since I used Flash. It's been a while. Yeah, a timeline within a timeline. So that's similar. It sounds similar to the sub-X sheet. Okay, Claude, great to have you with us today. As I say, the rest of the stream is on YouTube after I finish. If you want to watch any of it later, hopefully see you again next time. Yeah, so you mentioned lip sync, Alan, for use of symbols. And again, for OpenToonz users, that is just a level. So you'll have saved your mouth shapes, possibly other parts of the character. So you might have different hand shapes. So a fist, a hand flat out, a pointing hand, that kind of thing, as different drawings. And then you can just reuse them and reload the same level. No problem, Dave. I don't know if you caught that answer earlier about where to announce the live stream. In the OpenToonz chat. So, in fact, have you done that already? You have. Excellent. Thank you. I'm going to click that link now. Here we go. Let me... Although that's the channel link you've added, not the actual video yet. So if you want to add the video link, so people can get direct to the video, that'll be a better way if you can, Dave. Oh, live stream chat. I see there's a comment there. That's the channel again. Yeah, if you can, if you share the link to the video when you create that. Yeah, how you create that library could be quite interesting to see. Presumably you've seen in Flash they've got the, what do they call it again? We talked about it earlier, the control panel for choosing the mouth shape or the drawing to reuse. The keyframe caddy to choose the keyframe, the drawing from your level or from stack of drawings. So you need to have something like that. I quite like in OpenToonz, just to throw some ideas at you, you know when you use the skeleton tool, if you have used the skeleton tool, not the plastic tool, the skeleton, and you select on one of your columns and you get those little arrows to the side and you click and drag and it changes the drawing number. If when you clicked, what I would ideally like, I don't know if it's a possibility, is if it would show kind of a keyframe caddy or like the level strip to the side or below, configurable obviously, so that you can see which drawing it is. Because in OpenToonz, when you click and drag on the actual screen, the drawing changes. So if you've got a number of hand shapes, you'll see this, where you go from a fist to a thumb to a point to a hand to a fist that way to a hand that way to different things, to a couple of fingers down to a grip. And you get this snappy look as you're scrolling down, but you kind of can't see what's coming up. You can only see the current drawing on screen. So if you had like a pop-up showing a list, you could see it was 4 drawings down you're trying to get to. You could scroll at a better pace between the drawings. I think that'd be really useful. Yeah, exactly. As I say, if you picture the level strip, if I could see that with a highlight moving up and down the drawings, or the highlight in the centre and the drawings like a film strip moving up and down, and then you could see which hand or which mouth shape that you want. But again, take a look at that. Yeah, I think it's the same, the skeleton tool. I don't think it's changed much, to be honest, of when you was using it. But yeah, it's a really useful feature. I've used it for mouth shapes for lip syncing, where you can just click on the face and then scroll up and down to get the right mouth shape. But it's a little bit awkward to get the right one. You're scrolling up, watching the mouth flick between the different images. Yeah, that's much later, I'm sure. And also something people ask for a lot is being able to share rigs between characters. Again, we're going to later territory. But if you've created a standard bipedal character with 2 legs, or four-legged character, whether it be a dog or a horse, that you could bring in a four-legged rig and then attach drawings to the different parts, so they're automatically connected together. Because a two-legged character, whether it be a man, a woman, a child, a monster, as long as they've got two legs and two arms, you can reuse the rig across all the different types of characters and just change the scaling perhaps. And you might have a simple version or a complex version to break down the body into multiple parts, so that a simple version may have upper leg, lower leg, and a complex version may have upper, lower, and a kneecap joined to cover the two, that kind of thing. But I'm sure you've already thought about this and you've used this in plenty of software. Gabriel, hello there, welcome. I couldn't agree more, 100% right. I wish the level strip would show the combined drawings of the sub-X sheets. And all it would need to do when you save the sub-X sheet is to create a thumbnail for each of the drawings, because it could apply the effects and the rigging and the plastic tool on it and create a thumbnail and show those. That would be fantastic. It would be so useful. Oh yeah, you couldn't be more right. It really would. I tend to use the sub-X sheets personally for the majority of the combination of the images. So it's the whole scene. But for picking a frame, you need to see each drawing ideally to be able to use the level strip. And I don't use the level strip enough because of reasons like that. A mouse over possibly on the timeline, but I think you're right. I think at least should have the drawing in a sub-X sheet. As I say, I know it would be kind of a combination of multiple columns, but it only needs to be rendered out once as a thumbnail when you save the sub-X sheet, and they should all be available. That'd be really good. Hey, done. Great. Thank you, Alan. Yeah, that'd be really useful. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait. So you're working on Blender, happy person. I'll let the chat give you a suggestion for that, what to put on it. But that was the last part of today's news. I think we've gone through everything. On to do a bit of drawing before we end the stream today. I've now got a countdown for Dave of when to end my stream. So we're down to just under 2 hours. So I want to get back and do a bit of drawing. So let me jump off and take a break. You take a break too. Grab yourself a cup of tea, stretch your legs, feed the cat, whatever you need to do, and we'll be right back here in 5 minutes where we'll do a bit of drawing in Tahoma and working with these implicit holds. See you then. Hello there, welcome back. I think we're on now. Didn't get to mute. There we go. I think we're okay. Is that okay? Can you hear me? I know there's a small delay, but let me know if that's working okay. Great, thank you very much. Lovely, welcome back. So thanks to everyone who shared their art and animation that I put into the kitchen. And this was shared on the Discord server in the OpenToonz art and animation channels. So if you've got some art and animation you've worked on in OpenToonz or Tahoma, drop it in one of those channels, and you never know, next week it could be you shared during the break. Lovely. Right, so what we're going to do today. So I wanted to work on a new project in the latest nightly build of Tahoma2D. And if you need a link to where that is, let me know, I can drop it into the chat here. But otherwise you can find links to it over on my Discord server, and you can find the link to that down in the description below. You missed the kitchen? Oh, it's a shame, really, because you're in there. So if you want to skip back, take a look. Otherwise, watch it after the stream completes. So hopefully you've got your version of OpenToonz or Tahoma open to do some drawing or animation with me today. But I want to show you a couple of things while I'm working on this animation. So let me get my tablet here. Move that out of the way a little bit so I can get to it without knocking it like I usually do. Oh, fair enough, fair enough. All right. Man, how big is my hand? It's huge. Right, here we are then. So let me start a brand new project before I do anything. So for those of you new to OpenToonz or to Tahoma, when you first run the program, you see this startup dialog. If you're already in the middle of a project and want to start a new one, or if you closed it accidentally, you can go to the panels menu in Tahoma, or it's called Windows menu in OpenToonz, and hit Startup pop-up. And from here, you can click the button New Project to start a new project. When you first come in, you'll see Sandbox on the left-hand side in the current project dialog. I suggest you really don't use that you always create a brand new project for your scenes. The Sandbox project is stored with the install of Tahoma and stored in a central location for OpenToonz, and when you upgrade, there's a chance you could lose it, or you might accidentally forget where it is and merge things together incorrectly, or it can go wrong in a multitude of ways. So always start a new project whenever you begin a new scene. I've set my default project location to be Tahoma folder in my documents folder, and let's give it a project name, and where possible do give it a meaningful name. It's tempting to call your projects test 1, test 2 when you begin, but then when you come back later and look at the folder with 25 tests, how do you know if it's test 14 or test 17 that you want to look at to remind yourself how you did something? So if you're first using the program and creating some experiments with testing out the plastic tool one day, and a separate day testing out vector manipulation, give it a name at least of test vectors, test plastic tool, so you know what the project is. So this little project today, I'm going to call Monster, if I can spell it right, Jump. I want to do a bit of a very, very simple jump animation, quite similar, Alon, to your little bouncing blob that you did yesterday. And again, coincidences happen all the time. So when I saw that, the first thought I had was, that was exactly what I'm going to do. But I'm still going to go ahead and do it because it's a bit of fun, isn't it? I discard the changes from my previous project, so I don't want to save them, and I'll create a project anyway. I don't want to save the previous because that was just a bit of a test. So now I've got a project created, you can see in the left, called Monster Jump. And within that project, I can create a single scene. And I'll call it demo because it's during today's demonstration. Just having a quick check on the chat there. It is Tom. It's to my left, so I'm guessing that's why I sounded distant. How does that sound now? I'm just looking at the Darren and Friends An Animated Journey. I like that. Thank you, Kevin. And welcome to the stream. Good to have you with us again. I don't like the sandbox default. I don't like having a default. I know why it's there, but I don't like it. Yeah, a practice project folder, exactly. As long as it's your own folder where you can control what's on disk. One of the things about using OpenToonz and Tahoma is to understand the storage of your projects and what happens on disk. And it's something people don't consider. They want to just get in and draw. They want to make stickmen run around and fight. But if you don't know where your files are, when you come back tomorrow, you can't continue the animation. When you want to send it to a friend, you can't find it to zip it up and send it to them. So you really need to know where your projects are. Yeah, personally, if I'm doing a test project, I always start it with the word test. So I'll call it test vectors or test something. Still put it in my Tahoma folder, and then when I look at my Tahoma folder from time to time, I can see precisely which are tests. And I've still named them with something that lets me know what it's about, so I then clear them out and delete them as I go along. Well, you say it wasn't great, Adam, but it did look pretty good to me. I'd have been more than happy to have created that. Not so much today. Today's going to be quick and snappy just to get through a few features and just to get the basic layout of the animation together. I will do, Tom, thank you. I did have the microphone. In fact, what might be useful, give me a second, let me move the microphone, and to save you seeing my armpits, let me turn off my camera in here. There we go, that one. And I'll mute the microphone so I don't clonk about. I'll be back in 2 seconds. So is that any better, or is it even quieter? Let me pull it down here. How does that sound? Yeah, it is. Stickmen fighting. It's something people love doing all the time. Yeah, but then that's part of the fun of animation, isn't it? It's making characters come to life, making them do things. And I think it's a great way to get into animation because everyone can draw a stickman, even a bad stickman. So getting something moving, you can start to learn some of the basic principles of animation. So in my view, it's a good thing, but I think at some point you want to get away from that and start to expand out. Yeah, exactly, the artist wooden mannequin, exactly that. Right, let's get started. Right, Tom, thank you, you're right, let's go on. So what I want to do for this animation, I want to put the rough position in today of what we're going to animate, and then I want to flesh it out, possibly during the week, possibly next week on the stream I might finish it off. but I want to build it as a YouTube short and release it as a YouTube short. One of my plans for this year and one of my intentions is to get a few animations out there with the name OpenToonz or Tahoma slapped on top of it, so that it'll introduce people more to the name of the program. So for those that like a bit of animation and they see a bit of animation to scroll through YouTube Shorts, they'll see OpenToonz a couple of times maybe. And again, for you, all of you out there, I urge you to do the same. Get your animations out there with the name OpenToonz and Tahoma on them, and then at some point people will click subscribe or like or jump to the channel or your channel, start to look at what the program can do, and then hopefully come and join us in the community. So it's part of spreading the name of the programs around out there, as well as being quite an interesting way to make cartoons and to make animations a restriction to make them in the vertical format. So this week, hopefully, this Friday, my next video will be a YouTube short that I made at the end of last year, the little monster jump, Alan, that you was involved in. And I've kind of crushed that into the vertical format to get it out there again as the first animation in this series. But where I'm making specific animations for YouTube, I'm going to create them in the shorts format, the vertical format. And to do that, you simply swap the width and the height. So instead of being 1920 1080, I make it 1080 by 1920. I want a 24 frames a second frame rate, and I'll hit create scene. So now I've got the vertical format ready for the short. Matilda, hello there, welcome to the stream. Yeah, stickmen are both surprisingly easy and hard. I think, as I say, anyone can throw a stickman animation together, but at first, when you first start doing them, they'll look a bit rubbish. I know they will. I've had a little play with stickman animations myself. In fact, one of the last collaborations was a stickman animation collaboration. And I was thinking of the next one possibly being the same, just to get more people involved. It's really easy to get wrong, and there's different techniques for putting them together. But yeah, to get them looking nice, it is surprisingly hard, but it's a good way to get into animation. Okay, so let's get started. Let's add a new level at the beginning. I can see there I've got a little glitch with the toolbar, so I'll right click on the camera column, I'll hide the quick toolbar, and then we'll show it again. So this is kind of one of the things of my new computer and the layout, that I've got an HD view on my tablet, but a 4K view on my separate monitor. So that kind of can make Tahoma and OpenToonz go a bit peculiar. Let me just try and resize that. There we go. By changing out of maximize and back, it's now drawing okay. So let's add onto sketch level first off. But I do like the smart raster level rather than the standard raster level, so we'll add one of those. I won't bother naming it. This will be the sketch for the background. Okay, so the background I'm going to make extremely simple. I'm going to just have a sky and a ground. I might throw a mountain in the background, it doesn't matter. But basically I just want to figure out where the horizon line is. And I'll leave it on the standard brush. It doesn't matter, it's around there. Now where's the character going to go? Let's again create a smart raster level, and I'll name this, let's start naming the column so I know where I am. Background sketch, and monster sketch column. Hit save. Let's save it nice and early. No, not today, Golden Slime. Not a stickman fight. So the monster, let's change to a raster brush, and that's because I just love drawing with either the charcoal brush or one of the pencil brushes. And in fact, let me just show you one of the new features, a new change in the nightly build. And this is from maybe 2 months ago, a month and a half ago. and it's new in the nightly builds. It's not in the latest release yet, and that is that the brushes are grouped according to how they're stored on disk. So we've got the classic name at the top here with a minus. I can click that to close it down. DVAD with a pencil, some experimental brushes, and then Kieran V1. Oh, and some more Mojo, Roman, Tanda. There we are. So there's all the brushes. So they're grouped into the names of the files that were on disk, in the folders on disk, that have always been organized in this way. It really is. It's a lot of fun, Alan. You can very quickly put them together, either a fight or something else with a stickman. Another thing that we can do with the brushes, that I will do just to quickly demonstrate, to get your favourite brushes organised in one location, you can right click on a brush now and choose to add it to your favourites. So now you've got a separate favourites tab at the top. So if I close down the classic, I can also add in the pencil brush and any other brushes that you find useful. So there was a spray can, one of these two, I can't remember which, so I'll add that one, add to favourites. There we are. So now I can get to my 3 favourite brushes a lot easier than we used to do in previous versions. Thanks, Alan. Exactly right, Morzy. Tahoma or OpenToonz better? Pretty much the same thing. I'm using Tahoma today. It's got a few extra features, like this one, for instance, of organising your brushes, which you can't do. Your My Paint brushes that you can't do in OpenToonz. So it's got a few extra features that make it slightly nicer. The interface is a bit cleaner with less clutter on screen. In OpenToonz, once you understand it, you can change the interface to look pretty much like this if you want to anyway. So it's not something that's insurmountable, but out of the box, Tahoma looks a little bit neater. That's right, Kevin. No, you can't partially erase in Smart Raster. It's the same as you can't use blending brushes because of the way it's set up under the hood. You have to use standard raster to use those. Let me grab a charcoal brush then. Let's zoom in a little bit. And I did a little sketch on paper earlier, a little bit of thumbnailing. I was going to do it on the computer, but I was just sat on my sofa trying to think what I was going to draw and how I was going to draw it. And I thought I'd get the pictures in my head out of my head, and it's much better to do so and see them on a piece of paper or on screen, so you know exactly what you're going to work on. And these are quite terrible, so you won't be able to see them in detail, but I'm happy to show them on screen here. So just an A4 sheet of paper, no fancy schmancy drawing books or anything. So I did a few sketches of the monster that I'm going to be kind of drawing today, just so I've got some idea how to play with kind of facial expressions. Again, as with my previous monster, I wanted a simple sort of shape, so we'll see how that goes when we scribble on the tablet in a second. And then I did a thumbnail of what I wanted him to do. So if I put that forward, so just standing still, I want him to squash down, jump up into the air, and I was thinking about how his body's squashing and stretching there. And then when he comes to land, I want him to splash into kind of a puddle. So it's a very simple kind of story, little animation, just for me to have a play and have a bit of a draw today. So I'll keep that to one side to refer back to, but I strongly recommend doing thumbnails to give yourself an idea of what you think you're going to be drawing. That's right, Kevin, exactly, to do with the palette. Yeah, so if you've got one palette entry of a strong pencil line, a second one of the eraser, if you partially erase, you'd need to know what sort of gradient of erasure you've got, and it's just not available in the linked palette that there is. Yeah, character sheets are really useful. It's not quite what I've got here. This is just a working through of ideas. I'm looking here, I've got some terrible sketches, but it came up with an idea in the end. So let me draw this. So I was trying to think of simple shapes. So again, a basic circle for his body, a slightly smaller one for the head, with these joined over like this, and I've got them drawn straight on rather than 3/4 view. I might regret that later, we'll see. I was then going to just give them some very simple legs and arms. Let me set up my eraser. And his arms, again, of where the two circles meet, let's bring them out here. So I want a very, very simple sketch. Simple character, nothing too complex to mess with. I want to quickly block this in. Hi Hituka! Hello there! I do want to make some videos about the stop motion features. I really intend to, and this is partially one of the reasons why I bought a new webcam for Christmas. Santa was very good to me. Thank you, Santa. So I bought a new webcam and I'll be using that for some stop motion work at some point. Again, reorganising my studio as I've got more room now to be able to do so. So I'd like to get that out there and to demo the basic stop motion features you can do, as well as some of the more detailed features that have been added into it. No, exactly the same texture brushes in Tahoma. In fact, OpenToonz has a few extra brushes. But I think most people don't need too many extra brushes. The standard brush is pretty good for most people, and you've got a few options if you want to have something special like a pencil or charcoal, bit of a paintbrush. So you've got the options in there. People keep asking all the time, how do we get new brushes for OpenToonz or Tahoma? And my answer is generally, you don't need them. Don't worry about new brushes. I know there's some missing you may get in other programs. So for instance, one that comes to mind is Critter. It has lots of foliage brushes, which are great for building up backgrounds of trees. If you need them, I say just use Critter. Create your backgrounds in Critter and then import them. You don't need the brushes then. Well, it's a bit more than a blob, you're right, but blob-ish. Yeah, exactly. Vectors aren't much different between OpenToonz and Tahoma. He is, thank you Santa, he's been really good to me. No problem. Bye Kenzen, great to have you with us today. Hopefully you can join us next week or at least in the near future. Have a great rest of your day. So let me just do this face here. The pencil brush is great, and so is the charcoal, as I say. They're my two favourite brushes, mainly because they look like their analogue equivalent. They look like charcoal and pencil, and it just feels nice to draw with them. So on the first frame I will draw the character out just so I'm happy with how he looks, because this is my first time drawing him on screen, and afterwards we'll just draw the circles moving just to get a feel for his movement and also the scale. So I want to zoom out here so I can see that he's got enough room to move around, and this is the right time to scale him. If you want to, use the selection tool at the top. Choose the type to draw, so you can draw a rectangle around him. I like the freehand. It's useful for lots of situations. So I can draw a freehand shape around him, and then I can resize him larger or smaller. And if you hold the shift key as you do so, it keeps his scale with the width and the height. So if we resize him at this point, so I was pretty much okay with the size at the beginning. I want him to jump to the top of the screen, so he needs enough height above him, so I'm happy with that. Let's hit save before we go any further. Save early, save often, that's right. Yeah, absolutely, Hajan. Yeah, as this is what Dave was saying to you as a suggestion when he was talking about software. They all need a reasonably powerful computer, so you need to have the best computer you can get to. Obviously, if you can upgrade, great. If you can get one for Christmas, your birthday, or borrow somebody else's, work on parents, brothers, one at school, whatever you can. So you need a fairly powerful computer for animation in general, whichever software you choose. Tahoma really doesn't use that much more than other software. So as Dave suggested, stick with Tahoma. It's got everything you need, but start with the basics. I say this to everybody, start with the basics, learn the timeline, learn how it works, learn how to create new drawings, new frames, and how to render so you've got an animation. And once you've got that thin spike of how to use the software in its basic form, then you can spread out and start to learn other things. Start using new brushes, start using other features. No, not really, Golden Slime, you're right, it does need a super good computer. But as you get more complicated and add more effects and use more of the features, the most powerful computer you can get to is the better. You can create longer scenes, use more effects, render quicker. It's not something to be concerned with, I don't think, really. But if you do get lag or things go slow, there are some things you can do to improve that, and I've got a video coming out, here's a plug, video coming out for that in a couple of weeks with a couple of suggestions of things you can change. Okay, let me just get this little fella finished off. Back to my brush. I'm using the charcoal brush here. I want him to have a bit of a goofy smile. And I want to pop a little tooth out of this fella. And that's about it. I'm not even putting a nose on him. We could choose to add one later, but right now, that's all I want. Yeah, it's a shame that OpenToonz and Tahoma don't use the GPU more. I think it would speed things up. If you could have live previewing of effects when you go to the preview mode, that would be really nice to have and would make working a little bit easier, a little bit more comfortable. Okay, so that's the sketch. Now, we were talking earlier about the implicit holds. So what do the implicit holds mean in the real world? It means that I've made this drawing of the monster on frame 1. I've drawn my background on frame 1. There you go. Background, we've got a mountain. Lovely. If I go to frame 2, you'll notice that I can still see the drawings on frame 1, or frame 3, 4, 5, because they are implicitly held, as in shown on those subsequent frames without having to expose the drawing. And this is really where the benefit comes in of the implicit hold. So ordinarily, previous to this change, you'd have to select on the drawing of the background, grab this little handle, and explicitly expose that drawing over the frames you wanted, which meant that when you get to the following frame, it would disappear. But now I've got implicit holds, I wouldn't even do that. I'd leave it on drawing 1. Okay, so we've got the sketch on frame 1. I'm now going to zoom out, and I'm going to go to the next frame for when it's going to jump. And the way I'm thinking in my mind of this animation, again, referring back to my little thumbnails, let me pop that up here. So he's standing still here, and then he bends down or squashes down to a bit of a blob, and then he jumps up. So for you to have time to see the character and for you to process that before he starts to move, so I don't want him to go straight away, we'll move along a number of frames. And we'll have a guess at how many frames you want to move over. I'm happy, we're on 24 frames a second. Let's just wait half a second. So from frame 1 to 12, I want him standing still. Frame 13 is when he's going to start moving, and then beyond that is when he's going to do the rest of his actions. However, the timing I will adjust later. So for now, I'm going to leave a frame in between, so we'll go every 2 frames, I'll do some drawing. So we can, on frame number 3, just start drawing. So he's going to squash down to the bottom. So I'm going to have him down here. And as soon as you start drawing, it creates a new drawing in the same level for that drawing I've just made. So I will turn on the onion skin for 2 frames earlier so I can see where he came from. So I want to squash him down. So I'm trying to imagine that circle squashed down here and his head on top. Again, squash down a bit. and I'll squash his face into that. So I really want to try and squash him down. Advice from you, Alan, about pushing things a bit further than maybe you think they should be. So I'm trying to kind of stick with that to see how that goes today. Casa Chap, hello there. Yes, I made a video on Friday and put out about my plans for the coming year. And it's based on a series of polls I put out at the end of last year. And one of the things I want to do is try and release another course on Udemy this year. And I've got to work out my planning to find enough time to keep up with the streams and the Friday videos, as well as releasing a course. So I'm not sure when it'll be or if it'll be, but I'm hoping to try and release one. And I know what I want to put the course on. I need to put it together. I want to make it more manageable. The first course I put out was huge. It covered a lot about the program, so it took me a long time to put together. So I kind of want to make it a smaller course, more detailed course about kind of one particular thing. We'll get to that in the coming months when I talk about it later. But hopefully I'll be able to do that, as I say, this year. That is the plan. I certainly did, Casa. I had a great Christmas. I had a lovely break away from doing videos and streams, away from work, my regular 9-to-5 job, and other things. I took time off to relax, as well as I took some time to think about what I want to do with the channel, and for this coming year, what I want to do. Again, that's part of the Friday video. But yeah, I had a lovely time. Good question, Maria. What happens if our onion skin frame 2 instead of frame 1 with implicit holds? There we go. So frame 2 implicitly has drawing 1 in it, so it still shows drawing 1 through the onion skin. Yeah, no problem, Casa, not at all. Yeah, I had a great break, really did. And Alan, I may well do so. I might go more squishy. This is one thing I want to tell myself this year. It's the one piece of advice as I'm doing any kind of animation is go further, go extreme. But this may not be enough. We'll see. We'll see how we get on as it starts to move. Again, today I want to kind of limit what I do so I don't stream for too long. I don't want to wear myself out, because streaming live when you're doing some drawing, it takes a lot out of you mentally. It's a peculiar thing. I could sit here for 5 hours drawing on my own. As soon as I'm chatting away and doing drawing as well and managing the stream details, there's a lot happening. So I'm finishing at 6 o'clock. Let's check the time. So less than 1 hour away. So let me check on Dave to see if he's got a link up yet for his stream, so I know when that starts. Let me find my mouse pointer onto my other screen. Here we go. Let me refresh that. See if we have a link. So I can't see a link yet. Let me check if there's one on here on my phone. Sometimes it comes through on my phone first. No, not yet, so I'll keep an eye on that and try and watch the time. So it's currently 20 past 5. I'm going to end at 6 o'clock. So do let me know if I run out of time. If you want to watch the time, and let me know. And you, Maria, do the same because of Dave's live stream, and then we'll hop over there, all of us. Yes, the more squishy, the better. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You can join us on Discord. You can just use it through the website, though. That's how I use it on my computer, or the Discord app on your phone. Yeah, absolutely. It's much more fun to talk on the stream, but you get much less done. I think Dave said the same thing. Sometimes it's easy to get distracted with just chatting away about things, and you get very little done. But as I say, the amount of attention you need to give to to both the stream of talking and drawing, it takes it out of you. Yeah, I saw you posted your channel, Dave, but not the actual video. So if you create an upcoming stream and give it time, then you look in your live stream list in your YouTube backend, you'll be able to get to a new link specifically for that stream. And if you share that, then we can all see, we'll get a timer countdown of how long before you stream. Okay, no problem, Maria. Yeah, you did say you was leaving early. So let me quickly throw this in and throw in some blocking here. So number 2, he's squishing down. And then the next one, as I said earlier, you can start drawing to create a new drawing in your level. Or if you right click, you can choose to create a blank drawing by choosing the option from the context menu or pressing Alt-D. And that gives you a blank drawing before you make a mark. And using the keyboard shortcuts, if you've got the keyboard at the side of your tablet, it's so much quicker to do this and can be easier to see the onion skin if that's how you work. So again, I'm checking back to my little thumbnailing here, and I want him to jump up with a bit of a delay. So I want him to start to come up with his head first and his body sort of still on the ground a little bit. So I kind of want to give it some stretch and imply it's got a really heavy bottom. It's kind of where I want to get for the next frame. And again, if I press Alt-D, I get a new blank drawing, hit Save All. As Dave says, save early, and then as he's jumping, the head will go up a tiny bit more, and then his body will start to move with him. It's kind of what I want. Thanks, Alan. You're right. I was thinking that for this one, I'm going to use the selection tool on this image, and I'm going to hold the Alt key, or is it Control? Control key, and move near the corners, and I can stretchy just one part of the drawing. And then this one, I'll do the same. I will draw with the selection tool, holding Control, and I want to move that up a little bit more, so it's kind of his head still moving upwards slowly, but the bottom comes up with him. And then maybe we'll come back and refine some of these shapes. I just want to get a feeling for the shapes for now. So then as he's moving upwards, the next stage really is I want to draw him at the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the onion skin for drawing number 1, create myself a blank drawing for frame 9, and I'm going to trace over him . Doesn't need to be super detailed, but because I'm tracing here, I can get his face in the right place. So I will literally trace his rough face and position of the arms. I'm going to change them on the preceding frame, so I don't need to redraw those. Although I will draw his legs. Okay, so there's that drawing, and now I can put the onion skin of the previous, and using the selection tool, I'll shift him to his height, to the highest height that I want him at. So that'll be the peak. So we'll stretch up into that, sort of hover, and slowly come down again. Okay, so I'm not going to in between that. Ordinarily, I would do. It's something that Tom's pointed out to me. If you're still there, Tom, please keep pointing out to me on these streams that I've got a tendency to start in betweening too early. That where I know a character moves a tiny bit to ease into a movement, I'll go to the next frame and draw that ease in before I get to the next movement, So I'm trying to avoid that and aim for more for the keys. And I'm going to squishy this fella some more, and I'm sure we're going to get to more than that at some point. So I'm going to keep fiddling with these. So he's jumping up, so squash down, and when he jumps up, I want to keep him on the ground. So let's erase the bottom part, and I'll have him still on the ground. But I'll bring his bum in a little bit because he is, I want to keep the volume as much as I can, and he is sort of squashing in as he's moving up. And it's a very kind of brief frame in the middle where he's stretched and then pings back up to the top. Thanks, Alon, thank you. Character design is not my favourite thing. It's something I'm thinking that later on in the year I may spend a few Sunday streams working on some of these issues for me that I want to work on. And we've talked before, I've talked with you, Dave, about drawing characters. For me is I'm not the most comfortable yet. I can copy characters, I can look at somebody else's, or from a cartoon we know, like Nixon or what have you, and I can kind of work my way towards, I can mould a drawing into looking like it. But starting a new character, not my favourite thing. So later on in the year I may well take a Sunday stream, and on a Sunday just go through some character design exercises, or some exercises drawing a human figure or the head. So that's something perhaps if you're interested in, do let me know, and that's something we can maybe come back to. Yeah, exactly, designing my own. I can throw a pair of eyes on, but are they the right pair of eyes? And then the nose, and then the face, does it really match? And am I pushing it to the extreme? Could I make it better? So I want to have a play with some of that at some point, and just have a few hours on these streams is ideal, and just have a play with you watching, maybe you making suggestions, or you having a go yourself. So maybe that'll be a follow along stream day, which we've done a few of, and they've gone really well. I've enjoyed those. So yeah, if you say anything, Tom, I see that you are here, and do let me know. I'm trying to keep in mind what you've talked about before about not going to the in-betweens too early. Very useful tip, absolutely. Okay, so where are we? So he's jumped into the air, he's at the top, he'll slowly ease in and ease out from the top, and then he'll start to fall. So again, we'll go to 2 frames down, and let's have him falling. There we go, just throw that in there. Oops. Get onto the right column. Let's not do a Dave. I know what you're liking, Critter, for choosing the wrong column accidentally. Okay, so as he starts to fall, again he'll squash a little bit. So let's think about halfway sort of distance. Will he squash or will he stretch? I'm thinking about him squashing on the way down, but really he's going to start stretching. Ah, excellent, thank you, Dave. Let me take a look at that. Superb. Let me open that up. So 30 minutes. The countdown started. 30 minutes, everyone. And then we're all over to Dave's and watching him working on some Truman Show, Critter or Tahoma2D animation. Do you know which you're doing today for you? Is it going to be Critter or Tahoma? So I'm thinking here about stretching him as he falls, again making him no. Make him slightly longer there. Yeah, that's right, Tom. So I'm thinking here, start with his legs. Not really been thinking about the legs yet. But for this particular frame, I'm thinking his knees are kind of tucked up. So we'll come back to start adding the features on separately. And then the next one is going to be, let me press Alt-D, to create a new blank drawing, hit save, so I know where I am. And the next one is going to be when he hits the ground. So let's draw that. So again, let's show the onion skin for drawing 1, because then we know exactly where the ground level is. And to help with that, let me drop in a ruler marker by clicking on the left hand side here and placing that where his feet are. Back on drawing 1, let's actually place his feet on it. Okay, so I will show drawing number 1. Let's see, how's he going to hit the ground? So again, look at my sketch. I'll show the previous drawings. I can see him falling down there, stretching down, and when he hits the ground, it's going to be super duper stretched. So let's do the hitting the ground first. There's a bit of curve on there to show, kind of showing the stretch. We'll come back to quite how that looks. And then he's going to squash into himself. And I love showing the blank drawing first. It really helps to see the thumbnail of the previous drawing so you can tell what you're drawing against. Thanks, Null. Great to have you here today. Hopefully you can join us next week. It'll be same time as this week, so 3 PM UK time. I'll share the video or set up the stream on the Saturday, so you can see a countdown to when we're going live. Hopefully you can join us next week, or if not, in the coming weeks after that. Great to have you with us today. Have a great rest of your day. So then we want to splash him down. So he's going to come down flat on the ground here. He's going to really squash into himself. I'm thinking about the shape of him coming down. Turn that off. And I'm thinking almost like a bag of water. Followed by this kind of action where the water splashes sideways. Is kind of the effect I'm thinking, followed by lots of kind of sort of water splashy look. So the water splits at the bottom and separates into two, going left and right. And I will neaten this off as we add breakdowns and things to this. So last sort of drawing here. So that's moving sideways, so it's kind of off the ground now. And the same on the opposite side, where that's moved over. Again, I'm doing the same thing. I'm doing the in-betweens rather than sort of animating straight ahead rather than doing the keys. But that gives me an indication of what I'm thinking of. Okay, so let's bring the FPS down by dragging this bar to go really slowly. So how many frames a second? Drop it down to 4 or 6 or something just to see it start to move. Let's hit rewind. I've already hit save all. And if you're not aware, or if you're new to OpenToonz or Tahoma, when you want to save your project, choose save all using Control S. Don't choose save scene. It's tempting because you've created a scene to think, I know what I'll do. I will choose the save scene option, which in Tahoma is in the other save options, flyout save scene. In OpenToonz, I think it's in the main file menu, and people choose it all the time. They save the scene, they close the program, they come back the next day, and all their drawings are missing. And it's so annoying for them, and it's not surprising. I wish OpenToonz was more clear on what saving scene really means. So to save the scene, that just means saving what's in your timeline. So it saves the name of the level, so I've got levels A and B here, and the drawing numbers. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 through to 12 for level B, and drawing level A has got drawing 1, just one drawing. So it only saves the numbers, the references to what drawings are on what columns. It doesn't save the drawings themselves, whereas Save All saves that information and all of the drawings. So please do hit Save All. Okay, so frame 1, let's hit loop play. So this is kind of all I want to have on the character, standing at the bottom, squashing down for the jump, jumping up and falling down to splash. Put that up to 6 frames. We have a cup of tea. Superspurg, hello, welcome to the stream. Good to have you here. I'm here for another 23 minutes, and then we're all popping over to Dave's channel to watch him do some drawing and animation. And I'll share the link to that in the chat just before I leave. But we're here for a little while there. So yeah, so I want that rubbery feeling of when he jumps where the head moves up first, then the bottom part, and then the bottom part takes the weight of the body to the top. Very dangerous. You can only do it once, Maria. Just the once. If you've got no life and nowhere to go. Okay, I think that's okay for blocking out. I'm happy with that. Need to adjust the timing, obviously, so that's the next thing I'll do. So we'll increase the frame rate to 12, and we'll start moving these drawings around to get a better feeling for the timing, and then we can add some breakdowns in here. Although before I do, to be fair, let me go back and add in some of the other features. So his arms and legs, for instance, just to get me a better feel for this. Okay, so drawing number 2, his body is squished over where his feet are. So let me make sure attaches his legs to his ankles. Something like that. So it's really squashing them down. Of course, Alan. Let me hit save. Bring down the pacing into, I think I was on 6 before. Hit loop play. In fact, if I, yeah, you can see that quite clear. Let me full screen. I was thinking. That's the kind of feeling I'm after. So I'm trying to think about where the weight of his body is. So I really want to show the weight is in his bottom. So when he jumps, I want his head to go first, then his bottom to come afterwards, and then keep moving upwards and to bring it to the top, to the peak, and then as he comes back down, stretching out and splashing away. He's slightly destroyed. I did think about trying to make this a loop animation. So starting the animation with water coming in and forming into the body, and then doing the jump and splash, and then it can loop to the beginning again, but I've not done just yet. When you talk about extra momentum, what are you thinking of for that? So I was thinking at the peak of the jump, he would look the same as on the first frame. As you say, before we continue, let's get the basics right. You probably don't remember, Maria, but I did do a similar thing. Do you remember I did an animation challenge, monster challenge first at the beginning of the year, first time I did some monster things, based on Tony Gaddis. He issued a challenge to move a monster from the left side of the screen to the right. And one of the ones I did involved water, him turning into water and kind of reforming back into a monster shape again. Oh no, absolutely, Alan, there will be a float, there will be. Absolutely. Yeah, it'll be easing into the top, sort of floating, and then easing out before he falls. Yes, I really enjoyed doing that kind of water changing to a person and back. So I may come back later and add that in to make it a loop. But kind of this animation, as I say, it's made for YouTube Short, so people will watch it once and then scroll on kind of thing. So let's go through. I want to add in some more of his features. So I've done his legs. So when he squashes down, his arms start off at the side. I'm trying to think where he's going to go. Thank you, thank you. So his head's going to be in here. So obviously his fluffy eyebrows like this. His eyes are going to be closed. And again, it's just to explain briefly, if it's not obvious, I think it might be that I'm drawing his face here and I'm trying to think where to position all the features to be realistic for the squash, and this is why I kind of drew the two ovals first for his body and his head. So I'm thinking of the head circle is now this oval shape, so I'm trying to keep the face within that squashed area as best I can. So when I do the in-betweens, it should be, his face shouldn't suddenly jump into his body, it'll hopefully stay in that top area. We'll see how that goes. So his arms, so it starts off like that. In between, I'm going to have him bending when he starts to come down. So when he gets to this stage, I guess they're going to be I don't want them to flip outwards, so would they just be squashed in like that maybe? A bit like his legs. So he's kind of squashed down, trying to think how he's going to go. Okay, so when he's coming up again, so his feet, and we'll make sure they're not moving in the final version. So we've got 16 minutes, Dave, until it's time for your stream. Let me bring the body away from where his legs would be, so it's really clear where his feet are. So where his leg joins can move up a little bit. It's being stretched. Oops. Oopsie daisy. I don't think so. I know if you look at or you read advice about squash and stretch, to think, unless you really got a jellified character that can just squash in any way whatsoever, which he kind of looks like, unless you've got that, you want to think about where the skull is and the jaw and the solid parts of the body, the bones that can't squash and stretch. So unless you want to give it kind of a really cartoon look, I'm happy to leave the tooth solid like that. Again, it's just a judgment call. You might decide for you that the tooth squashed as well. I think I want it to stay like that. So what I'm doing now, the body seems a bit too far to the side, so I'm going to pull it over to the left to get it more central to the body. And what I will do is I'll drop a ruler down, actually, to find the center point for his body so he doesn't weave around left and right. So let me check on that. Yep, so again, his eyebrows I'm looking, and his eyes are kind of should be central to that. So let me adjust these. Again, the position of each part of the body, it helps to find markers on screen so you know exactly where they should be. Yep. Right, so here we are. So now I can use the selection tool, and holding control, I can really pop his head at the center point. And doing it at this stage when I'm blocking is a lot better than later. Yeah, absolutely you can. I love your blobs, they're so squishy. Okay, so let's quickly throw the head on here. And even though I've drawn the circle there, realistically it's stretching. So perhaps you want it like that. So again, thinking about the shape and the position of the features on the shape, I'll look at the center point and I'll stretch them out. So his eyebrows are stretched out vertically, but going around the center point. His eyes at this stage are going to be open, so I'll stretch them up. And his mouth, again towards the bottom. Let's pop his tooth out there, and we'll look at the shapes. That's quite fat, so we'll adjust that as necessary. And in fact, I'm looking at that thinking, I can make that smaller. So holding the control key again, I'm going to bring the head in narrower, because he really is stretching upwards. Make sure I keep the center point where his eyebrows are. Number 4 is on the way up towards the top. So he's squashed together, the bottom's pushed up. So erase a bit more of the shape here. He's not as squashed. So eyebrows are a little bit stretched up like that. Just taking a read of a tip. Yes, thank you, Alan. Yeah, I'm trying to think of volumes. It's one thing, again, it's another thing. A list of many things that I need to concentrate on to try and get right. So the eyes aren't as stretched, the mouth the same. Let me erase some of this blocking just so I can see. And at the top, that was traced, so that can stick with how it is. Number 6, he's falling, so the same thing again as we had a second ago. I'm going to stretch this out again though. Let me go through all of it. Squashing his head in a little bit more. So it's really the bottom stretching out more than the head at this stage. I might change the mouth, so go from smiling to something else possibly, but let's just block it in as it is now, just to get the basics in here. So it's on full stretch now, so again I'm going to erase some of my setup markers here. And I've got 10 minutes to go. Nothing like a good deadline to get you to rush a little bit. Again, let's squash that around to keep it sort of central to where that center line is, and he's stretched out, so I'm probably going to make his eyes bigger because he's concerned. You know, he's falling, he's seeing the ground, he knows he's going to splash, so make them go wide-eyed as he's falling down there. So maybe now I want to have either sort of a sad face, or kind of a... Oh, let's have a think on that. By the way, just to let me know, I'm turning off soon anyway, but can you hear the music? Is that coming through? Is it too loud? Is it okay? Kind of want a confused look when he hits the ground. Everything's really squashing together. So that's not central at all, so I want to make sure. Actually, that's not. Let me go to there. I want to change the angle, I think. So it looks middle. There we go. Okay, I don't want it too loud, but I think it's nice to have something so it's not total silence. Oh, there's another dodgy chat. Yeah, there he goes. Don't know what they gain by coming on these chats and putting a little message like that. Really don't know. Okay, so let me just. Trying to look at getting the previous drawing central to that center line, and then this one can do the same like that. If I select the eyebrows, then they can come back over. Okay, so back to the previous couple of frames, just to finish off these legs when he jumps up. And again, I'm not trying to be neat, trying to get a feel for where things are, where I'm expecting them to roughly be. We'll change the arms and legs at the very top, possibly. Whee! And we will change the arms so they're not both doing the same thing. So I haven't got that mirroring thing either. Great, thanks Amar, thank you. That needs to be stretched up some more. Right. He does look bad there. Okay, so we'll get to the end of this shortly, and that'll be the end of today's stream. So we've got 6 minutes left. So if you've got any last minute questions, do drop them in. I think his legs want to be going out. Let me actually bring them up a bit higher. Take a book underneath him. Yep, absolutely golden slime. I'm just about to. And I think there, the facial features and everything have disappeared. So I can play it without any timing in. So let me hit loop play on that and go full screen. So increase the FPS a little bit. And that obviously needs timing out before we move on to the next stage. So we need to definitely add some timing, start to add some breakdowns in to show the pacing of the easing in and out, and how long he starts waiting for the end and that kind of thing. so we can see how that goes. Okay, so 4 minutes time, Dave's going to start on his stream. So let me share that link in the chat. So any of you that are around and want to watch some more streaming animation, then jump over here and you'll see me over there. Yep, I need to work on the limbs some more. I just kind of drop them in at the end just to get them in there to start to get a feel for the position. But because we're rushing off today, I've not quite got time to sort them out today. So we'll come back next weekend, next Sunday. Do come back and join me and we'll take a look at finishing this off. Let me just drop off the music a minute. So thanks for joining me today. Hope you had a great time. I certainly did. Have a lovely rest of your day. For those of you joining me over on Dave's stream, I'll see you over there in a few minutes. But in the meantime, have a lovely day. Thanks for the stream, and I'll see you next week. And if I've got my key set up, hopefully that's a Darren Tea. Have you always wanted to animate but didn't know how to start, and software seemed expensive and difficult to use? Well, with OpenToonz, it's free, powerful, and once you know how, it's easy to use. And it's my mission to get you animating with it today. Hi, my name's Darren, and I've been teaching OpenToonz for the past 3 years, showing thousands of students just like you how easy it is to animate with. I'm cutting through the jargon to show that anyone can animate with it. And by the end of the course, you'll be able to animate traditionally using OpenToonz. And the course is designed for students brand new to OpenToonz, as well as those new to animation. So take a look at the free lessons I've offered below, and then why not sign up and join me animating traditionally with OpenToonz.